Welcome to my review of the Rockford Files Season 1, Episode 22, Roundabout. This is the final episode of Season 1, so my next video will be a full season review, recapping some of the highs and lows in a mostly spoiler-free look at how the first season shaped up. This episode was written by Mitch Lindemann and Edward J. Lasco, and directed by Lou Antonio. The episode begins with Rockford meeting Edward Moss, played by a returning Mills Watson, at a driving range. Moss wants to hire Jim, but is thoroughly unpleasant.
Okay, Rockford, I'm going to give you the ground rules. 1, I don't like getting fleeced. So you try to run me up the expense account, I'm just not going to pay it.
Luckily, Moss only wants Jim to track down a woman due to inherit some insurance money from his company. Jim quickly manages to track down her aunt by looking her up in the phone book, but the aunt isn't particularly pleasant either.
Well, you better be police or I ain't talking.
Yeah, well, not exactly, no. I could have been.
I ain't talking.
Oh, lady!
But she is shrewd.
If I help you, how much is there in it for me?
Oh, for you? $10?
Get your foot out or get ready to lose it.
It's a fun opening, with Rockford butting heads with some unreasonably surly people. Watching him butt heads with Moss is a particular highlight and sets this up as a more light-hearted episode.
Hey, I got a black belt in karate.
Good. I got a black belt in 7-iron.
Jim agrees to deliver the insurance check to the woman, Nancy Wade, in Las Vegas, and finds her after an encounter with a surly apartment manager.
Oh, you have a lady here, Nancy Wade, room 210?
Nobody here by that name.
Nancy is also not too thrilled to see him, but he manages to ease her concerns with the check.
Hi. Now, wait a minute. I'm a private investigator. I work for an insurance company, and I have a $10,000 check for you.
She's clearly jumpy about something, but he can't just give her the check as it needs to be notarized. She's right to be jumpy too, as someone is following her.
Get in the car, they're coming! Get in the car!
Which is an easy job in her bright green VW Beetle. Despite claiming not to have a bank account, we discover from our first Columbo connection, George Weiner, as Mr. Strock, that she does have an account with that bank with $300,000 in it. On hearing this, Nancy flees, only to be grabbed by the two goons that followed her, and Jim assumes she went back to her apartment, where he's knocked out by one of the goons who takes his wallet and the check, leaving Rockford with nothing but a sore head and Nancy's Beetle. His luck soon changes when he gets a sign of Nancy's whereabouts. A literal sign.
Well, I'll be damned.
Jim watches her perform, then get escorted out of the casino by the goons that nabbed her, leading to him reluctantly pursuing them in the green bug. Not the most exciting of cars to feature on the show, but the German engineering must have been popular enough, as there are at least 3 other Volkswagen Beetles in the shot of the short drive he takes to a ranch where she's being held. Jim then sees 2 men argue as one leaves in a huff. The man who stays is our second Columbo connection, Ron Rifkin as Tom Robertson. He and Weiner both had small roles in different Columbo episodes and would make several more appearances as different characters in the Rockford Files, as would Jessie Wells, who plays Nancy. Rockford manages to trick one of the goons into bringing Nancy out, and they escape with Robertson in hot pursuit.
Do that every time. Go on.
This gives Jim the chance to show off his superior driving skills and teaches viewers not to underestimate a Volkswagen. Nancy is furious with Jim for rescuing her, and Jim is furious with Nancy for all the trouble he's had. He gets her to explain that she was a struggling singer until she was approached by Robertson with an offer of a singing contract in Vegas and a record deal. She took it, but found out that they were using her to launder money. She thought she could use this information to talk Robertson out of her contract, but Jim assures her you don't walk away from men like that. I have to be honest, I've never quite understood how money laundering works, but I understand enough to have an idea of what's going on, and I assume that most viewers will be in the same boat. I do enjoy how the story evolved from a simple insurance job for Jim into serious organised crime, and how, even though he doesn't like it, at no point is he particularly fazed by what's going on. This is more of a caper episode than a detecting episode, but still gives Jim the chance to show off his smarts, as he approaches the man who left Robertson's ranch in a huff, Mr. Mamato.
What you're proposing? Breaking and entering? Burglary?
No, I'll be doing all those things. What I'm asking you to do is perfectly legitimate.
Jim approaches the local DA with everything he has on Robertson, and the DA agrees to set up a sting once Jim has the books. Jim then agrees to meet Robertson in order to exchange the books at the Hoover Dam, but Jim isn't the only one to bring backup, and Robertson has his two goons with him. Luckily, the cops show up just in time to save Jim, but Robertson makes a run for it through the dam. This foot chase is brilliantly self-aware, as it begins with a tense chase scene from a hard-boiled 70s movie with the only sound being the sound of their footsteps. But as it goes on, it begins to descend into farce as the two men wear themselves out and huff and puff their way to the bottom before Robertson gives up.
Gotcha.
Only shortly before Jim is about to. This is a brilliant deconstruction of an action movie trope that wouldn't be out of place in an episode of Police Squad, but also fits perfectly with the tone of this episode, and is very funny to watch play out. The episode ends with Nancy signing a new record deal, this time with Mr. Mamato, against Jim's advice, which she doesn't take, as the surliness continues right to the end of the episode.
I know you mean well, Jim. And I know you really want to do what's best for me. But bug off.
This is a light-hearted episode to end the series on, with minimal danger that still manages to elicit a bit of tension, even if the tension is quickly resolved. While there's no direct mention of Robertson having any mob ties, he doesn't even have an Italian name, it was common practice for the mob to get involved in the music business at this time, so it's a nice subtle nod to the real-life practices of organised crime in the 1970s. It's also really well paced, as the story whizzes through what could have been a feature-length plot, and the chase through the dam is a great button for the episode. While it might not have any of the characterisation or pathos of other episodes, it's a fun palate cleanser and an exciting way to end the first season. It's easily a 5 out of 5 for me. Thank you. Goodbye.